in the vast digital landscape of modern politics, where social media posts can spark international incidents, and where the line between personal opinion and corporate responsibility blurs. A single comment has ignited a firestorm that reaches from the gleaming towers of Silicon Valley to the remote wilderness of the Canadian North. This is the story of how 3 words, hastily typed and quickly deleted, have exposed the fragile relationship between technology, sovereignty, and the communities that depend on both. The controversy began with what appeared to be a moment of impulse, the kind that has become all too familiar in our hyper-connected age. Elon Musk, the billionaire entrepreneur whose ventures span from electric vehicles to space exploration, and who holds dual citizenship in both the United States and Canada, found himself at the center of a growing political storm. As more than 250,000 Canadian citizens and residents signed a parliamentary petition urging Canada to revoke his citizenship, tensions reached a boiling point that would culminate in a social media post that shocked observers on both sides of the border. The petition itself represented something unprecedented in modern Canadian political discourse. The petition argued that Musk had become a member of a foreign government that is attempting to erase Canadian sovereignty, referring to his prominent role in the Trump administration and his influence in American politics. For many Canadians, this was not merely about political disagreement, but about fundamental questions of loyalty, allegiance, and what it means to hold citizenship in a nation while actively supporting policies that may harm that very country. As the petition numbers climbed higher each day, from thousands to tens of thousands, and eventually surpassing 250,000 signatures, the pressure mounted on both political leaders and on Musk himself. The petition represented one of the largest grassroots political movements in recent Canadian history, a digital uprising that reflected deep-seated concerns about foreign interference, national sovereignty, and the role of technology billionaires in shaping global politics. Each signature told a story of Canadian citizens who felt their country was under threat, not from traditional military forces, but from economic and political pressures wielded by those who claimed to be fellow Canadians. In what appeared to be a moment of frustration, or perhaps calculated provocation, Musk responded to the growing petition with a social media post that would reverberate across the internet, faster than light travels through fiber optic cables. The message was brief, stark, and inflammatory. Canada is not a real country. Within hours, the post had been screenshot, shared, analyzed, and debated across countless platforms, even as Musk himself chose to delete the original message. But in the digital age, deletion rarely means disappearance, and the words had already been captured, preserved, and disseminated beyond any hope of recall. The immediate reaction was swift and fierce, like a digital wildfire spreading across social networks, news outlets, and political circles. Canadians from coast to coast to coast expressed outrage, hurt, and disbelief that someone who held Canadian citizenship, someone who had benefited from Canadian education, healthcare, and opportunities, could so casually dismiss the legitimacy of their nation. Politicians across party lines condemned the statement, while ordinary citizens shared their own stories of what Canada meant to them, creating a counter-narrative of national pride and identity that stood in stark contrast to Musk's dismissive words. But the consequences of this digital outburst extended far beyond hurt feelings or political rhetoric. In the remote corners of Canada, from the Arctic territories to isolated First Nations communities, from mining towns to fishing villages, the implications of Musk's comment began to manifest in ways that would affect real people living real lives in places where internet connectivity is not a luxury, but a lifeline to the outside world. Starlink, Musk's satellite internet constellation, operated by SpaceX, has become a crucial infrastructure component for thousands of Canadians living in areas where traditional internet service is impossible or prohibitively expensive. These are communities where geography and economics have conspired to create digital deserts, places where mountains, forests, vast distances, and small populations make conventional broadband deployment financially unfeasible for traditional telecommunications companies. For residents of these areas, Starlink represents more than just internet access. It represents connection to family, access to education, opportunities for commerce, telemedicine services, and participation in the broader Canadian society. The relationship between Starlink and remote Canadian communities illustrates one of the most complex challenges of the modern era: the intersection of private enterprise, public necessity, and national sovereignty. When a private company controls critical infrastructure, and when that company is led by an individual whose political views may conflict with national interests, the potential for conflict becomes enormous. Communities that have invested in Starlink equipment, signed long-term contracts, and built their communication strategies around this service now find themselves wondering whether their connectivity might become a casualty of political disputes. The technical implications are staggering to consider. Starlink operates through a constellation of thousands of low Earth orbit satellites that beam internet signals down to user terminals on the ground. Unlike traditional internet infrastructure, which relies on physical cables and terrestrial towers that respect national boundaries, satellite internet operates in the realm of space, where the concepts of sovereignty become more complex, and where the control mechanisms are largely in the hands of the private companies that launch and operate the satellites. This creates a unique dependency relationship, where entire communities rely on the goodwill and business decisions of individuals, who may not share their values or priorities. For many remote Canadian communities, the prospect of losing Starlink service represents a return to digital isolation that could have profound economic, social, and safety implications. Students who rely on the service for online education, healthcare workers who use it for telemedicine consultations, business owners who depend on it for e-commerce, and families who use it to stay connected with loved ones in urban centers, all face the possibility of being cut off from the digital world that has become essential to modern life. The irony is particularly sharp. Communities seeking to maintain their connection to Canadian society and values may find themselves disconnected by the very person whose citizenship they are challenging. The broader implications of this controversy extend well beyond the immediate dispute between Musk and Canadian citizens. It raises fundamental questions about the role of technology billionaires in modern society, the relationship between corporate power and national sovereignty, and the responsibilities that come with controlling critical infrastructure. When private individuals accumulate enough wealth and power to provide or withhold services that entire communities depend upon, traditional concepts of corporate responsibility and civic duty become inadequate to address the scale of influence they wield. This situation also highlights the growing tension between global technology platforms and national governments, a conflict that is playing out in various forms around the world. From social media content moderation to data privacy regulations, from antitrust investigations to national security concerns, governments are grappling with how to regulate and oversee companies whose reach and influence transcend traditional boundaries. The Canada-Musk controversy represents a particularly stark example of these tensions, where personal political views, corporate interests, and national sovereignty collide in ways that affect ordinary citizens going about their daily lives. As this story continues to unfold, with petition signatures continuing to climb and political pressure mounting on all sides, the ultimate resolution remains uncertain. The Canadian government would have to change the law to strip Musk of his citizenship, making the petition more symbolic than practical in its immediate effects. However, the symbolic power of hundreds of thousands of Canadians united in opposition to Musk's influence should not be underestimated, particularly as it reflects broader concerns about foreign interference, corporate power, and national identity in an interconnected world. The lasting legacy of this controversy may not be determined by whether Musk retains his Canadian citizenship or whether Starlink continues to serve remote communities, but by how it changes the conversation about the responsibilities of technology leaders, the vulnerability of digital infrastructure, and the ways in which nations can protect their sovereignty, while remaining connected to the global digital ecosystem. In an age where a single social media post can trigger international incidents, and where private companies control the infrastructure that connects us all, the boundaries between personal opinion, corporate responsibility, and national interest have never been more blurred or more important to navigate carefully. The story of Elon Musk's controversial comment and its ripple effects across Canadian communities serves as a cautionary tale about the power of words in the digital age, the fragility of the systems we depend upon, and the complex web of relationships that bind together technology, politics, and human communities in our interconnected world. As Canadians from remote villages to major cities continue to grapple with the implications of this digital dispute, one thing becomes clear in the modern era: the health of our communities, both physical and virtual, depends not just on the technologies we build, but on the values and responsibilities of those who control them. As we continue to witness the unfolding drama between tech titans and nation-states, between corporate interests and community needs, between global connectivity and local sovereignty, it becomes increasingly important to stay informed about these developments that shape our digital future. The intersection of technology, politics, and society creates stories that affect millions of lives, from the remote Canadian communities dependent on satellite internet to the urban centers where political decisions are made. And understanding these complex relationships helps us navigate an increasingly connected, yet fragmented world. That is why we here at West is Best are committed to bringing you in-depth analysis of the stories that matter most, the ones that reveal the hidden connections between power, technology, and everyday life. If you found this exploration of the Musk Canada controversy enlightening, please consider hitting that like button to help us reach more viewers who are seeking thoughtful analysis of current events. And do not forget to subscribe to West is Best for more deep dives into the stories shaping our world. Because staying informed has never been more important than it is today.